WWE's latest CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins rumor would be a major mistake. WWE fans know that CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins is inevitable. The fun part about it is the how, the why, and most important of all, the build. But the latest rumors? Not so fun. The win of Punk vs. Rollins was always a foregone conclusion. WrestleMania, Night 1 main event. Easy. But according to Dr. Chris Featherstone of Sportskeeda Wrestling, WWE has booked the match for Raw's debut on Netflix in early January. Talk about a mistake. Look, WWE wants to set the tone of the debut episode on the streaming platform as a sort of soft reset, almost like the start of a new season. Fine. One can assume Netflix is pushing for something major like this on the debut episode too. But it would feel rushed. That leaves less than a month for the superstars to actually build up to the match. Sure, one could argue there are years and years of material and real-life blending that have already gone into the feud between the two. But the dedicated fans who know that background lore are going to watch regardless. The more casual fans who aren't as tuned into the drama need a reason to care, get invested and return to the product weekly, and that will require a proper build. One can also assume that December isn't exactly the month to do that with so many viewers caught up in real-life stuff around the holidays. That's not to suggest the two couldn't pull it off. They're two of the greatest to ever do it. Not just in the ring, but from an overall perspective. But that's part of it too. The payoff should be in a ring at Mania, and potentially with a title. Right now, there just aren't a lot of ways to get a title involved on such short notice, especially without doing Gunther dirty. And while a trilogy of matches worked for Punk's feud with Drew McIntyre, it might not here. Remember, that feud had months and months of extra build while Punk wasn't cleared to wrestle due to injury. Also, is there actually enough material to craft another trilogy? Bringing up McIntyre is important here, because honestly, his dislike for Punk and how the feud and promos unfolded are similar to Rollins' reasons for a feud. Running the feud long could risk it feeling like a rehash of what has already been done. Punk against Rollins, Part 1 should probably take place at Mania. On one hand, having them link up just once might not be popular across the entire fanbase. But on the other, it would add to the importance of the moment, especially on that Night 1 stage after the two have struggled for years to carve out their own Mania main events. That long-sought-after Mania main event being the end of a three-match feud just might not hit the same. There's only so much they can do. Only so many stipulations that wouldn't come off as silly as a feud capper in a main event at Mania. The only exception to this is if WWE has some masterful storytelling plan around Paul Heyman, and the idea is to get Punk past Rollins for a Mania main event against Roman Reigns. Fun as that sounds, though, there's one big problem: The Rock. It's pretty clear by now that WWE doesn't have anything firm or committed from the part-timer as he hovers around all things Reigns, Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes. It would be a major shame to have him turn up late and plans change after WWE already used Punk vs. Rollins on Netflix, especially after last year's messy booking involving Rhodes. In the end, this doesn't sound like the careful storytelling the Triple H era has established. Surely, there's no way WWE has hinted at this feud for more than a year just to blow it off in a rushed manner over a 3-week build. There are many other things the debut episode of Raw can do. Rock could make an appearance. Other big titles could be on the line. John Cena's retirement tour is kicking off. Plenty of returning legends and even surprise debuts and/or returns could happen. To waste Punk vs. Rollins on short notice to drum up streaming numbers that don't need the help would be a misstep. In pro wrestling, predictable doesn't have to be bad, and the two main eventing Night 1 or WrestleMania is about as good as it can get. CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins is a match that has been brewing since the Second City Saint returned to WWE at Survivor Series. War Games last year, with Rollins visibly looking upset that Punk had returned to the company. Rollins fired shots at Punk while Punk was still feuding with Drew McIntyre. But the time has come for the pair to go head-to-head, which will reportedly happen on the WWE Raw debut on Netflix to kick off 2025. The rumors started on Tuesday, when Wrestling Scoop's newcomer Dr. Chris Featherstone posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he'd been informed Rollins vs. Punk was set to occur on the debut. On Friday, PW Insider's Mike Johnson confirmed that the outlet was told that the match in Los Angeles is the current direction. Johnson noted he was also told that anything can change, but for now, the match is part of WWE's plans for Netflix debut on January 6th. Rollins was the special guest referee when Punk and McIntyre faced off at SummerSlam and took a GTS from Punk during the match. More recently, Punk and Rollins had competing promos on Monday's episode of Raw, which saw Punk in a sit-down interview where he said he didn't give Rollins much thought at all. Rollins followed up in the ring, where he ran down Punk about walking out of the company the first time. The last time the pair went face-to-face was in the opening segment of Raw following War Games, after Punk competed on the New Bloodlines team alongside Roman Reigns. Speculation has been swirling about a potential CM Punk versus Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania 41. However, recent reports indicate that the match is currently planned for the premiere episode of WWE Raw on Netflix. Dave Meltzer previously confirmed that this high-profile bout is the current planned main event for the January 6, 2025 debut episode in Los Angeles. Adding to the report, Mike Johnson of PWInsider.com provided an update, stating, "For those who have asked about rumors bouncing around that CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins is taking place on the Raw Netflix premiere episode in Los Angeles, PWInsider.com was told this morning that is 100% the current direction they're going in. We were cautioned anything can always change, but that match is absolutely part of the plan to come in nuclear hot for the Netflix debut on January 6, 2025. This match would mark a massive moment for both the Netflix launch and CM Punk's return to WWE, setting the tone for an unforgettable new era of Raw. While plans can always evolve, the current direction signals WWE's intent to make a major impact with its first show on the streaming platform. There has been a major update on reports that WWE is planning CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins for the premiere episode of Raw on Netflix. Following Survivor Series, CM Punk's ongoing tensions with Seth Rollins escalated, when the pair needed to be separated by Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and numerous WWE producers. The segment was seemingly building up a future clash between Punk and Rollins, which many initially expected to take place at WrestleMania 41 next year. However, it was reported last week by Dr. Chris Featherstone that WWE was planning the match between Punk and Rollins for the premiere episode of Raw on Netflix on January 6th in Los Angeles. In an update from PW Insider, they were told this morning that Punk vs. Rollins on the Netflix premiere of Raw is 100% the current direction the company is heading. While PW Insider was C.